hardest achievement in every GTA game. I know not everyone do achievement hunting, but for those who days, let's get into this. Starting with GTA 3, the infamous playing doctor ambulance missions. Trust me, this one's a real test of patience and skill. Let me tell you why this seemingly simple paramedic side mission can drive you absolutely crazy. First off, picking the right area is crucial. You'll want to stick to Portland Island in the early game. It's flatter, has wider streets, and the traffic isn't as chaotic as Staunton or Shoreside Vale. Trust me, trying this in later areas with all those hills and tight corners is just asking for trouble. The real kicker is the time limit. You start with simple pickups, but by level 12, you're basically racing against the clock while trying not to flip your ambulance or lose your patience. Each victim has a timer, and if you don't get them to the hospital in time, it's game over. And here's the fun part. You need to complete 35 pickups in a row without failing. One mistake, one wrong turn, or one unlucky crash, and you're starting from scratch. What makes this achievement particularly brutal is how the patients spawn. Sometimes they'll appear on the complete opposite side of your current location, and you'll find yourself weaving through traffic like a madman, praying you don't clip a lamppost or get T-boned by an NPC driver who apparently never learned what a red light means. And let's not forget about the ambulance itself. This isn't exactly a high-performance vehicle we're talking about. It's top-heavy, prone to rolling over if you take corners too fast, and has the turning radius of a cargo ship. You'll need to master the art of taking corners without losing too much speed, while keeping this brick on wheels firmly planted on the ground. But you know what? When you finally nail this achievement, when you see that final patient delivered and that completion message pop up, it's genuinely one of the most satisfying feelings in gaming. It's like a badge of honor that says, yeah, I conquered one of the toughest challenges in GTA 3. Playing doctor isn't just hard, it's probably the most challenging achievement in GTA 3. But hey, if you're up for the challenge, grab an ambulance, pick your spot carefully, and may the traffic gods be ever in your favor. Next, Vice City and those crazy stunt missions. First off, we're talking about 36 different jumps scattered all across Vice City. That's right, 36. And they're not exactly marked on your map with big flashing arrows. You've got to hunt these bad boys down in every corner of the city, from the downtown skyscrapers to the sketchy back alleys of Little Haiti. Some of these spots are so well hidden, you could drive past them 100 times and never notice them. But finding them? That's actually the easy part. The real nightmare begins when you try to nail these jumps. Each one has specific requirements. You need the right speed, the right angle, and sometimes even the specific type of vehicle. Too slow? You'll just faceplant into a wall. Too fast? Well, enjoy watching Tommy Vercetti become a human rocket. The margin for error on some of these jumps is thinner than a pizza crust. The worst ones are definitely in the downtown area. You've got these jumps between buildings where you need to thread the needle through what feels like an impossibly small gap. One slight twitch of the controller, and you're scraping paint off the sides of buildings, if you're lucky. If you're not lucky, you're watching your car explode in spectacular fashion. But just landing the jump isn't enough. The game needs to recognize it as a successful stunt jump. You need to stick the landing just right, like some kind of automotive Olympic gymnast. I can't tell you how many times I've made what looked like a perfect jump, only for the game to basically say, nah, do it again. Let's talk about that one particularly nasty jump near the mall. You know the one. You need to hit it at exactly the right speed with exactly the right car, and if you're off by even a fraction, you're either coming up short or overshooting it entirely. I swear I spent more time attempting that single jump than I did on some entire story missions. And since some jumps require specific vehicles, you might find yourself driving across the entire city just to get the right car, only to wreck it right before the jump. But you know what makes this achievement particularly tough? The fact that there's no room for partial credit. You can't just do most of them and call it a day. It's all or nothing, baby. All 36 jumps need to be perfect, documented, and stored in the game's memory. Miss one, and that achievement stays locked. Vice City's stunt jumps aren't just hard. They're the gaming equivalent of trying to parallel park a space shuttle. But man, when you finally nail that last jump and see that achievement pop, pure magic. Drop a comment if you've managed to complete all these jumps. Next, GTA San Andreas and its taxi missions. Let's address the elephant in the room. 50 fares. Not 10, not 20, but 50 separate taxi missions. That's like doing the same repetitive job over and over while watching paint dry. Except the paint never actually dries. Unlike the firefighter or vigilante missions that at least give you some action, taxi missions are just pure, unadulterated monotony. What makes this particularly painful is how spread out everything is in San Andreas. This isn't like Vice City or GTA 3 where you're dealing with a compact city. No, you're cruising through 3 massive cities and the countryside in between. So when a passenger wants to go from Los Santos to San Fierro, you're basically signing up for a cross-country road trip. And the timer? It's just there to make sure you can't even enjoy the scenery. The passengers are possibly the most demanding critics you'll ever meet. Take one tiny shortcut through someone's front yard and they're freaking out. Hit one lamppost and your tip goes down faster than CJ's swimming stamina. And don't even get me started on the ones who want to be driven carefully, but still expect you to make it across the state in 2 minutes. But unlike other vehicle missions, there's no real excitement. No criminals to chase, no fires to put out, just you, your taxi, and an endless parade of NPCs who apparently never heard of walking. The firefighter missions at least give you some adrenaline. The vigilante missions let you play cop, but taxi missions? It's just pure grinding. And let's talk about that taxi itself. It's not exactly the most exciting vehicle in the game. It handles like a boat with wheels, has the acceleration of a sleepy tortoise, and seems to be magnetically attracted to every pole, tree, and fence in San Andreas. You'll spend hours in this thing, watching faster cars zoom past while your passenger complains about your driving. What really adds insult to injury is that you can't even save your progress midway through. If you're at fare 45 and something goes wrong, maybe you flip the cab, maybe it catches fire, maybe you just get too frustrated and quit. Guess what? You're starting over. It's like a really boring version of Groundhog Day. But after all that work, after all those hours of being San Andreas's most patient chauffeur, what do you get? A taxi that can jump. That's right. After 50 fares of pure tedium, your reward is the ability to make your taxi hop like a lowrider. It's like doing your taxes and getting a rubber band as a reward. The taxi missions aren't just the hardest achievement because they're difficult. They're the hardest because they're an endurance test for your sanity. They're like watching 50 episodes of paint drying, the series, GTA 4 and the Auf Wiedersehen Petrovich, AWP. And trust me, if you thought other GTA achievements were tough, this one's basically the final boss of gaming frustration. Let's break down why this achievement is pure digital torture. You need to win every single multiplayer race type in the game. Sounds simple, right? Wrong. We're talking about 27 different race types, and not just participating. You need to straight up win each one, against real players, who are probably just as desperate as you to get this achievement. And these aren't your casual Sunday drive races. You're dealing with everything from regular street races to GTA races where players can use weapons. Imagine finally taking the lead after 3 laps, only to get blown up by some guy with a rocket launcher who's been camping behind a building. It's like trying to win a marathon while everyone else is throwing banana peels at you. The worst part? Most of the GTA 4 multiplayer community who still play are hardcore veterans. These folks have been racing these tracks since the game launched. They know every shortcut, every trick, and every spawn point. Rolling up as a newcomer is like bringing a knife to a tank fight. Then there's the technical side of things. GTA 4's driving mechanics, while realistic, aren't exactly forgiving. The cars handle like they're always driving on ice covered in soap. One slight bump, one tiny miscalculation, and your car is spinning out of control while you watch your chances of winning disappear faster than Roman's taxi service business. And let's talk about finding matches. The game's getting older, which means the player base isn't what it used to be. You might spend more time trying to find a lobby than actually racing. Sometimes you'll finally get enough players for a race, only to have someone disconnect at the last second. It's like organizing a party where half the guests keep canceling. The strategies people use to get this achievement are crazy. Most players end up having to coordinate with friends or other achievement hunters, basically setting up private matches. But even then, you need at least 2 other players for the wins to count. It's like trying to organize a flash mob, but instead of dancing, everyone's cursing at their controllers. Don't forget about the race types nobody wants to do. Airport races. Those giant loops around the runway where one mistake sends you plummeting to your doom. Or the boat races where you're basically fighting the physics engine more than your opponents.
Each race type feels like it was specifically designed to test your patience. The real thing is that there's no room for second place. This isn't participate in all race types, or finish in the top 3. You need straight-up wins. 1 win in each category. That means if you're struggling with a particular race type, you're stuck there until you get that win. It's like being stuck in gaming purgatory.
But you know what? When you finally get that achievement pop-up, when you finally become the master of GTA 4 racing, it's like joining an exclusive club. A club of people who've stared into the abyss of multiplayer racing and somehow came out victorious. Wiedersehen Petrovich, the achievement that makes other gaming challenges look like a tutorial level. GTA 5, solving the Leonora Johnson murder mystery. And let me tell you, this isn't your average collectathon. This is like trying to piece together a 50-piece puzzle where the pieces are scattered across an entire state. Let's start with the sheer scale of this thing. You're looking for 50 scraps of paper across the entirety of Los Santos and Blaine County. We're talking about searching everywhere from the top of Mount Chiliad to the depths of the Alamo Sea. The map in GTA 5 is absolutely massive, and these clues are scattered in some of the most obscure locations imaginable. Some genius at Rockstar probably had way too much fun hiding these things. What makes this particularly challenging is that there's no real systematic way to approach it. Unlike other collectibles that might show up on your radar or have some kind of hint system, these scraps are just there. You literally have to comb through every nook and cranny of the map. It's like looking for 50 needles in a haystack the size of California. The scraps themselves aren't even that visible most of the time. They're these tiny pieces of paper that don't exactly stand out in the environment. You might walk right past one multiple times without noticing it. It's especially fun, and by fun I mean frustrating, when you're searching at night or during one of those lovely San Andreas rainstorms. Here's where it gets really interesting. Each piece you find reveals a bit more of the mystery, but unless you're collecting them in a specific order, the story feels like you're watching a Christopher Nolan movie on shuffle. You're piecing together this dark, twisted narrative about Leonora Johnson, but you might find the ending before you find the beginning. The real test of patience comes when you found like 48 pieces, and you're missing those last 2. You'll find yourself revisiting places you've already checked, constantly second-guessing whether you really searched that area thoroughly. It's like when you lose your car keys and end up checking the same drawer 5 times, because maybe they'll magically appear this time. And let's talk about the terrain you have to navigate. Some of these scraps are placed in locations that require you to become a part-time mountain goat. You'll be scaling cliffs, navigating treacherous paths, and sometimes just straight up falling to your death trying to reach what might or might not be a scrap of paper. I swear some of these locations were picked by a developer who really wanted players to appreciate the game's ragdoll physics. But you know what makes this achievement special? Unlike other challenging achievements that might just test your gaming skills, this one tests your dedication, observation skills, and yes, your sanity. It's not about being the best driver or the best shot, it's about being thorough and patient. Really, really patient. The reward at the end? Well, besides the achievement, you get to piece together one of the game's most interesting murder mysteries and confront the killer. Plus, you'll probably discover dozens of other cool locations and Easter eggs along the way that you would have never found otherwise. It's like going on a really long hike. Sure, your feet hurt. But hey, look at all these cool things you found. Now one achievement above them all. The mastermind of GTA Online. Basically, you need to complete all heists in order with the same team of 4 players on hard difficulty without dying. Not even once. 0 deaths. Nada. And we're not talking about just one heist. We're talking about all of them. One tiny mistake, one wrong move, and it's back to square one. It's like trying to complete a perfect speed run, but you're depending on 3 other people to also be perfect. The coordination required is absolutely insane. You need to find 3 other players who are not only skilled, but also committed enough to stick around for the entire challenge. It's like trying to schedule a dinner with your busy friends, except this dinner lasts for several hours across multiple days. And if anyone gets food poisoning, you have to start the whole thing over. Let's talk about the heists themselves. Each one is already challenging on normal difficulty, but on hard. Every enemy is deadlier, the margin for error is thinner than paper, and one stray bullet can end hours of progress. The Humane Labs raid alone has enough potential death traps to make Dark Souls look like a kid's game. The worst part? The pressure. Oh man, the pressure. When you're on that final heist, knowing that hours of perfect gameplay could be undone by one mistake, your heart rate goes through the roof. Every firefight feels like you're defusing a bomb. Every drive feels like you're transporting nitroglycerin, and every parachute jump might as well be without a parachute given how tense it makes everyone. The Pacific Standard finale is particularly brutal. You're trying to navigate through waves of cops and SWAT teams while protecting your take, and everyone's basically made of wet paper because it's on hard difficulty. One wrong turn on those bikes, one badly timed jump, and it's all over. Hours of progress gone because someone couldn't stick the landing. What if someone's internet decides to take a vacation? Runs over. Game crashes? Runs over. Your cat unplugs your console? You guessed it, runs over. It's like trying to keep 4 plates spinning while walking on a tightrope, except the rope is on fire and the plates are made of nitroglycerin. The strategies people come up with to complete this are fascinating. Some teams use the Kuruma for everything possible. Others have designated roles. One person's the driver, one's the shooter, one's the pilot. It's like organizing a military operation, except nobody's getting paid, and everyone's probably stress-eating their way through it. But you know what? When you finally complete it, when you see that achievement pop and that sweet bonus money hit your account, it's like winning the gaming Olympics. You and your team have accomplished something that only a small percentage of players ever will. You've become legends, and we are done. Let me know in the comments which one is hardest for you if you do achievement hunting. Subscribe to the channel and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.